How did my father manage to take a conversation about my promotion and turn it into a 20-minute story about something he accomplished? In 1987, my father is a man who has never once in his 63 years on this earth allowed a conversation to end where it started. I should have known better. I genuinely should have. I am 29 years old. I have watched this man redirect discussions about hurricanes, weddings, car accidents, and my sister's college graduation into personal autobiography. I have seen him take a conversation about a dying houseplant and arrive somehow at a vivid retelling of a fishing trip from 1994. And yet, last Sunday, I sat down at his kitchen table with actual butterflies in my stomach, ready to tell him the news I had been waiting 3 years to deliver. I got the promotion, senior project manager, the thing I had been grinding toward since I was 26, working weekends, skipping vacations, eating sad desk lunches while living their lives. I had the official email on my phone. I had rehearsed how I was going to say it. I even wore a nicer shirt, which, for a Sunday lunch at my parents' house, is basically a formal announcement that something important is happening. My mom, Sandra, was at the stove. My dad, Roy, was sitting across from me with a cup of coffee, still in his weekend flannel shirt, looking exactly like a man who had nowhere to be and all the time in the world to get there. Dad, I said, leaning forward, I have some news. He looked up. Good. Eye contact. We were off to a solid start. I got promoted. One beat of silence. His eyebrows went up. And then I watched it happen in real time, like witnessing a slow-motion car crash. Something flickered behind his eyes. A memory. A distant, precious memory from a time before I existed, rising to the surface like a buoy that had been held underwater for decades, finally breaking free. You know, he said, setting his coffee mug down with the quiet confidence of a man about to do absolutely zero listening. That reminds me of something. I opened my mouth. He was already gone. I ain't 87, he said, the year arriving in the room like a guest nobody invited. I was working at Hartwell Sons. You never met old Bill Hartwell. He passed in 2003. Good man, terrible handshake. And we had this contract, right, with a company up in Pittsburgh. I looked at my mother. She didn't look back. She had the practiced stillness of a woman who had accepted her fate long ago. Now this contract, Roy continued, warming up, loosening his collar, physically settling deeper into his chair like a man preparing for a long journey, was worth about $40,000, which in 1987 money was, well, it was real money, okay? It was real money. And my supervisor at the time, Donnelly, Phil Donnelly, he didn't think I could close it. I sat back in my chair. Over the next 22 minutes, I learned the following things. Phil Donnelly drove a burgundy Oldsmobile and was going through a difficult divorce. The Pittsburgh company was run by two brothers who didn't get along. There was a dinner involved. There was a misunderstanding about a proposal document that got left in a taxi cab. Roy had to retype the entire thing by hand on a Sunday night, and the office typewriter was broken, and he had to borrow one from his neighbor, a man named Carl, who Roy has not spoken to since 1991 due to a separate incident he did not elaborate on. Roy closed the deal. Phil Donnelly was wrong about him. $40,000 1987 money. When he finally finished, he picked up his coffee mug, took a long sip, and nodded slowly, the way men do when they have just handed you something valuable. Anyway, he said, good for you, buddy. Proud of you. And here's the thing that wrecked me completely, the thing I was not prepared for at all. His eyes were wet, just barely, just enough. He was proud of me. He just needed 22 minutes and the ghost of Phil Donnelly to get there. I drove home with the windows down, laughing so hard I had to pull over twice. I wouldn't trade that man for anything in the world.